This is the Iowa Weather Report for Sunday, September 22nd, 2013. Now our first look at the 0Z GFS model run. At 1 p.m. this afternoon, we have a trough over the eastern Great Lakes moving into eastern Canada. We have one going into the Four Corners region and a bit of a ridge in between, and that's going to keep sunshine around here today. Becoming a little bit breezier in the western counties. Highs today upper 60s north and east to mid to upper 70s west and south, maybe approaching 80. And then as we head into the new work week here, on Monday, it'll be fairly breezy. Winds about 10 to 20 miles per hour, maybe gusting upwards of 30 in the western counties as a low pressure center moves into the plain states. That'll be bringing a little bit of isolated shower and thunderstorm activity into the northwestern counties Monday night into very early Tuesday, but then that moves off into Minnesota. So the rest of the state will remain dry and near seasonal levels, temperatures in the 70s. But then it starts to warm back up again as the winds turn back around to the south again here on Wednesday ahead of another storm system that'll be seemingly taking its time to get here. The low pressure will be somewhere in eastern Wyoming, most of the precipitation to the north and west of the center. And that looks to be the case here as the center moves up into North Dakota. Most of the rain from about Manitoba in Canada through the Dakotas into Montana and Idaho and Wyoming, with just wind and warm weather around here. Finally, the low pressure center up by Churchill in Manitoba, with the cold front dragging into the eastern Dakotas and Nebraska, may bring some isolated shower and thunderstorm activity Friday night in the western counties. And then it looks like Saturday is going to be a very wet one across the state. This runs a bit slower than yesterday, where we thought maybe the eastern counties would have just rain on Saturday in the morning, but it looks rainy on Saturday. And then a week from today, next Sunday, you can see that trough axis is now quickly moving away to the east into the Great Lakes. And then the pattern looks to become a little more tranquil after that as a ridge develops from about the Mississippi River westward. High pressure comes in, and that looks to be what happens in the extended period, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Frontal system will be the Great Lakes to the Tennessee and to the Gulf Coast. As we now head into the extended period on October the 3rd, a ridge kind of starting to move away across the west. Bit of a northwesterly flow trying to start, and this northwesterly flow is key later into the extended period, but at this point it's still calm, it's still tranquil. The only rain in far northern New England and in the southeast, and that's about it across the country as it's fairly calm across the area. But that trough to our north really starts to dig in, and you can see here by the end of the forecast on the 7th, it is now cut off a low across the Canadian Maritimes and New England. Earlier in the extended, it came across here, the state and the Great Lakes, and that could bring a little bit of activity in the Great Lakes earlier in the period, but at this point, the low pressure center is occluding in the eastern part of Canada, and it's calm pretty much in the rest of the country at this point, so looks to get quite interesting in October. Satellite image from last evening. Here's the first frontal system. That's the one that brought us the severe weather on Thursday over the eastern parts of New England through the mid-Atlantic coast down to the southeast. Some clouds off to our west as well. Watch warning map from last evening. Flash flood watches over the Four Corners region, along with some wind advisories. Frost and freeze advisories over the northern and western Great Lakes in the northern Midwest, and some pretty quiet weather elsewhere. QPF chart, precipitation over the next 5 days. This goes through Thursday evening at 7 o'clock, showing most of the rain along the Gulf Coast, over the Intermountain West, the Pacific Northwest, with just a little bit around here with that storm on Thursday night.